gotta tell somebody.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Let's talk about that.
Listen to this.
Memorable and exciting.
Well, then be less boring.
I'm going to tell everyone. Wait here.
Mighty remarkable, Big Daddy.
Remarkable.
Welcome to Remarkable, a podcast for B2B marketers that deconstructs the most iconic moments in film, television, pop culture, and advertising for a single purpose: to give you, the B2B marketer, the same storytelling techniques that the pros use. In each episode, you will learn techniques from Hollywood, Pixar, Marvel, and beyond, from Spielberg's hands to yours, bringing remarkable content ideas to you every single week. I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Caspian Studios. This is Remarkable. This week, we're talking marketing lessons from the podcast Shell Game.
I'm Evan Ratliff.
And I'm the real Evan Ratliff, and this is Shell Game, a new podcast made by humans about things that are not what they seem. This season, that thing is my voice. This is the story of what happened when I made a digital copy of myself.
With the help of our special guest, MasterControl CMO, Kelly Starman. Kelly, how are you?
I am great, thanks. How are you, Ian?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so thrilled to have you on the show to talk about marketing, MasterControl, and of course, Shell Game. Why the heck did you pick Shell Game to talk about today?
So I listen to a ton of podcasts, and a lot of them are just kind of run of the mill, don't get my attention, but they're great for news and keeping up with stuff. Shell Game stopped me in my tracks.
Thanks for calling United Airlines.
I appreciate your help, but I would prefer to speak directly with a representative. I'm having some issues with my flight booking that I think would be best resolved through a direct conversation. That's me, on the phone recently. Well, it's not really me. It's a clone of my voice, being fully controlled by an AI chatbot.
And I just kept walking so I could keep listening to it. It was just really shocking to me how far advanced we were with AI technology, voice technology, and how it could be used. And I think it is one of the most fascinating things that I have heard in a long time.
I like, you've heard of the garage moment where you're listening to a podcast and you get to the garage and you have to finish it. I like the step count moment. I'm like, I got to keep getting my steps in because I still want to keep listening.
Totally. It was like, I live in Park City and I love to hike every day. And it was like 7 miles later, I finished the whole thing in one go and just really couldn't stop talking about it with my friends, couldn't stop thinking about what some of the implications were for us as humans and business people. And so I thought it was just kind of the perfect one for us to talk about today.
Before we get into Shell Game, Kelly, tell us a little bit about your role at MasterControl as CMO.
So I have a pretty standard role as a B2B CMO. MasterControl is a technology company that focuses on the life sciences industry. We make software to help life science providers manufacture and with the highest degree of quality. So my role focuses on everything from brand all the way down to a team of sales development reps and everything in between. So product marketing, demand gen, operations, things that you'd expect from a typical marketing organization. We sell into both SMB and enterprise, so have a lot of different types of marketing tactics that we use to reach and engage with our customers.
Meredith, what the heck is Shell Game?
So the term Shell Game actually refers to that game. It's sort of a sleight of hand where you have the 3 cups and you have a ball hidden underneath one of them. And one person's like shuffling them around and using sleight of hand to get the other person watching confused and as they're trying to follow the movement of the ball. And then, they pick a cup and reveal there's no ball underneath that one. So it's a sleight of hand game. And that's where the term comes from. But what we're talking about today, obviously, is the podcast Shell Game.
I didn't even put that together, by the way. That's really fun.
Oh, really?
Dumb. Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's what that game was called. Like, I feel like I've seen it, before.
Yeah,
but
like they did it at A's games. They do it in the baseball cap or like in a cup or whatever. But yeah, probably like back in the day, in whatever, when we were all native, like you use shells, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't have baseball hats.
They did not. Yeah. They did have the Pirates too.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I feel like that's like such a perfect and cool name for this podcast because the podcast is about things that are not what they seem.
I started playing around with voice cloning 6 months ago, just for fun. But pretty soon, I became consumed with a question. What would happen if I made an artificial version of me and set it loose in the world? Okay, fine. That was also a voice clone.
And so this podcast is by a journalist named Evan Ratliff, who I know from The Atavist. He's reported on all sorts of different things, but this season is about Evan cloning his voice and connecting it to a chatbot to create a voice agent. And then he sort of gives it its own phone number and lets it talk with people, basically. And so in the trailer, he said, "This is the story of what happened when I made a digital copy of myself, replacing myself before someone else could replace me," which I feel like there's so much discourse over, like, is AI going to replace us? Can it take over our jobs? So sort of playing around with that and being very playful. But when it comes to making the podcast, Evan said, "To be honest, I was trying to ignore AI in the period just before I started the project. But late last year, my curiosity got the better of me, though, and I started messing around with voice cloning. Again, I got bored very quickly. You could make a clone of your voice and have it say things. It's fun for a couple days tops. But then I realized I could connect that voice to a chatbot and allow the chatbot to control the voice's conversation. And then I realized I could connect that up to a phone number, creating what's called a voice agent that sounded like me and called whoever I wanted. When I tested it out, I thought, wow, that is actually incredible. I'm not sure people understand that this is possible." Anytime you find something like that, it feels like a story.
I learned something about how it's going to feel to live in a world populated by human-ish imposters.
Hey, I know this is kind of out of the blue, but have you by any chance stolen my identity?
Wait, what? Are you serious? No, I haven't stolen your identity. Why would you even think that?
It's so lonely. I feel so lonely.
So that's where he got the idea, right? Because I feel like there's so much pressure to be working and playing with AI right now. And so he was like, I guess I'll try it. And then just like it sort of took off and he started this project. One thing that I thought was interesting when he started the podcast was he decided to fully fund it himself. So he said, I wanted to be able to shape it in the way that I had envisioned it, and I wanted it to be weird. I knew the feedback that I would get from executives at some platform was some of the stuff that I wanted to do. So it gave him the freedom to really run with it, do what he wanted with it, and have his own editorial control. But over the 6-episode season, Evan lets his AI voice chat autonomously with his friends, family, colleagues, scammers, even a therapist. So it gets into some pretty weird conversations. And a lot of the time, the person that it's talking with doesn't know initially that it's his AI voice. They think that it's actually him. And Evan said that like the most surprising thing was that people weren't just like, oh, whatever, that's cool or neat or whatever, but they had like really strong feelings about it once they realized that it was an AI chatbot version of him, not him. Some people found it like fascinating, others hated it and seemed to kind of feel like betrayed. But Evan said, my ideal impact is for people who might have tuned out AI discourse to suddenly see it in a new way, think about it in a new, more personal way, and then to desperately want to talk about it with someone, which Kelly sounds like the experience that you had where you were like, listen to the podcast and like, need to talk about it with people, need to just like process it with people, which I thought was super cool. But overall, the podcast was named one of the best podcasts of 2024 by Apple, The Atlantic, The Guardian, Vulture, The Economist, and more. So it's definitely had a fair amount of recognition. But I'm wondering, Kelly, if you have played with cloning your own voice and, you know, how you think about that as when it comes to like content and marketing.
That's a fun question. And the short answer is no, but we have cloned our CEO's voice. And we did that as a way to introduce MasterControl's AI products at our conferences.
That's cool.
And we actually, it was kind of funny because we also created like a cardboard cutout of him. We call it Flat John. His name's John. And so we have Flat John with the AI voice on stage at our conference. Flat John does our demos. So we use this AI voice to voice over all of the product demos that we do. And I'd say it's pretty remarkable just how good it is. We also played around with having him speak in other languages at our international conference outside the US. And that was pretty effective too. So I think that, you know, we're really at this tipping point with voice technology that is both exciting and scary.
Yeah, for sure. I think some people One publication, I think, called it a bit disturbing,
It is.
To hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a point I know we'll get into the episodes, but there is a point in Shell Game where Evan has his voice clone talking to his voice clone. He's set them up, and they just get in this endless loop of saying goodbye to each other because they have not been programmed to stop the conversation. And so it's just like, there are a lot of unexpected things that happen when you set a voice clone loose in the world that you just could never predict and can be funny.
Malcolm Gladwell did a thing on Waymo back in the day where he was basically trying to break a Waymo sort of autonomous vehicle, and he was just basically trying to crash it. So he would just he kept diving in front of it, trying to get it to run him over, and sort of showcasing sort of the limitations of something like that. And yeah, I mean, I think that there's a million cool things about this that I want to get into, but I think the coolest thing is that he starts with curiosity and just tries to, break this thing, and not break it, but just really explore the limitations of it. And I think that that's just such a great mindset as a creator, right? To I want to take this to places where people perhaps haven't taken it, and definitely where the entire, populace has not yet seen it.
Totally. I really loved how he framed each episode as well. And it went from really amusing. So using your chatbot to answer spam calls that you get and actually have a conversation with someone that you would never want to have a conversation with, and kind of doing to them what they're doing to you. That is pretty hilarious and really fun to listen to. Yeah. But then, to the last episode where he's talking to his son or he's talking to his father, and they're very, very different emotions that they elicit in the listener when you really think about what some of those implications are for us as humans. One can just be really funny and you're using it to just kind of amuse yourself and frustrate someone else. And then the other is really replacing kind of what is the essence of you. And I think that's what I struggled with in the journey of the episodes is where are we going with this thing? And what does this mean for us?
Yeah. Yeah. A couple things, digging into the actual content piece. So the scammer thing is great. It's so funny. It's so good. We all know scammers are bad. We don't even feel it. We know it. And it's a really frustrating part of our current day and age. And what's crazy is they used to call our house phone. It's so much more annoying that your house phone will ring. At least you can silence it now. But it's so annoying. I mean, I don't know how many robocalls you get a day, but oh my gosh, I get so many. It's crazy, right? So it's something that we all hate. So to do that and to show the power for good to basically fight back is really cool. And then to juxtapose that with, oh, this is me talking to a family member, where it's clearly bad, is really interesting, right? And it's just, you can just see the just how well he's canvassed this technology in this current use case of what is normal, what is okay, what is not, what is societally acceptable. And we just don't know that, right? The thing to me that's just brings up is the Turing test, right? Which is the Turing test is, can you tell that the thing is AI, right? And AI has passed the Turing test a quadrillion times over with all sorts of different stuff. But what we don't know the answer to is, when you're using AI and you're pretending like you're not, what does that do? Clearly that erodes trust, but how much trust does it erode? And that's so fascinating.
Right. And I think that's one of the important distinctions here is that he never disclosed that upfront that it was an AI agent, right? It was always representing itself as a human first. And I think that's maybe where the line is it's okay if you have an experience where you're engaging with an agent and it's clearly an agent and you know that, and the game is obvious. But when you're not, when you're with an agent, but you don't know it's an agent, it leads to this feeling of lack of trust or, questioning like the motives. And it's a really strange experience, I think, is what you kind of see play out here. What it makes me think about, though, too, is so much of the content that we consume today is written by AI. And like we get emails, I'm sure we've gotten emails today that have been written by AI as the person, and you're just signing off like check yes, check no if you want to send this. And so like, it's just this continuum. How different is voice from text, and how much do you disclose up front versus just, pass off as your own work or your own humanness?
Yeah, I think like the way that he's exploring this with a bit of levity, like with a bit of tongue in cheek. And I think sort of like he mentioned sort of how it's novel, but it's like kind of fun, and you mess with it for a few days and you're like, oh, this is kind of funny. But then once you sort of start to look at like real use cases, right? Like that's what he's basically doing, right? It's like, can this replace me? Can it replace companionship with my dad? Could this handle, robocalls so I can fight back against people who are trying to screw me over? I mean, it's like crazy. Like someone is calling your phone to steal your money. Like it's a thief. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a crazy thing, right? It's like, what do you think about it? Like this isn't someone like trying to sell you like, like landscaping services. This is someone like who is trying to steal from you.
And swindle you out of your money. So it feels like a great use for it, like out fraud the fraudster.
Yeah.
But I then wonder, like, on the flip side, how good are the fraudsters going to get? Like, are they going to start using this technology and know really how to psychologically manipulate the people that they're calling? And so I think there's like always this, the yin and the yang, or the two sides of the coin that are just so interesting to consider when you think about like, yeah, we can do this to them, but then wait, they can do this right back to us.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is really interesting about sort of like in the content is that, there's 3 people on the production team, that he's in it, that it's him, that it's his voice. Like, if you did this same exercise and it was, I don't know how you would do this, but like, it is more interesting because he is at the center of the narrative, right? Like, that's part of the reason why it's interesting, right? So it's like, because it's him and his family and what's happening to him, it just makes it so much more compelling than like...
Yeah. And one of the nuances there, one of the nuances is that for the robocalls and for the fraud calls, he didn't train the agent at all. So he gave it his name, maybe his age, and I think that's it. And so what you saw is like a lot of hallucination, but with confidence. So they would just make up credit card numbers, they would make up phone numbers, they would make up addresses, and it was often ridiculous. Like they'd be like, yes, my number is 123-456-7890. And the person on the other end would be like, can you repeat that? Like, that's not a number. And then as he got a little bit closer to kind of, oh, I know this person, then he trained the model with just a little tiny bit more of information, not anything that it could go and act on his behalf, but enough that it could answer questions. So like, it was him, but it was different degrees of him. And I think what was remarkable is just how much it could be him without having any training whatsoever. Like, it was just a person, and people just accepted that at face value when it was really just like a shell of a person.
Yeah. What else about the actual content? And I want to get into the making of here in a second as well.
I mean, do his job. So there was an episode on him having his agent do his job for him. And it did a bunch of business calls and tried to negotiate some stuff and was like asking for advice. And I thought, like, for me, that was the one that kind of got me, because we all have this existential thing about like, is AI going to replace our jobs? And I think the short answer is like, not for a while, because just seeing it act in the wild and trying to have conversations and trying to do things that are maybe uniquely human, it just failed spectacularly. And everybody caught the voice out. It took some people longer than others, but But that was kind of refreshing to see that it has some, it can do a lot, but there's also huge limitations in terms of where we are with the technology still.
Yeah. And it's also like a brilliant snapshot in time. Because like since this has come out, this was in 2020, July 2024.
Yeah.
We're in July. It's a year ago, July 2025. And AI has come, so much further.
Totally.
And it's about to come even further once they release this new ChatGPT. So like, this is already, everything he did is already obsolete. Totally.
I called a car dealership. I'll shout out Lexus a couple days ago to book a service appointment. And the person that picked up the phone, or the agent that picked up the phone, disclosed like, "Hi, I'm Susie. I'm an AI agent. How can I help you today?" And immediately I was like, I hate that. This is not going to go well. It went so well. The voice was so natural. It got me exactly what I needed. It was extremely helpful. And then I asked it a few questions about itself at the end to try and figure out what technology it was. And it didn't answer my question. I still don't know who did it or what company was behind it, but it answered the question to the best of its ability and said, "I am sorry, I don't have access to that information. I can't tell you who built this agent," or whatever. But it was shockingly good. And I thought about this podcast when I was having that experience because it was so much more natural than what I heard just a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah. This just goes back to like, what is the job of the thing that you're trying to do? And it's like, is the job of you getting on a call with Lexus to buy a car as fast as possible or do a service change as fast as possible or whatever? You're like, I don't care how that gets done. I don't care if I talk to a human or a robot. It doesn't matter. Right? So it's like, oh, if it means my car is cheaper, great. You know what I mean? With that extra time and energy and resources, Lexus is going to put more money into making their cars better, which is like what
a win for everybody.
Right? So it's like, the button that I have on mine that I don't have the buttons that automatically, get my seat to the same place where it is every time once my wife uses it. It's her car.
I bet you have a little setting you can just press and it will work for you.
No, I don't. It's that I don't know how we made the mistake that it's not that model, but it's my only critique. But anyways, can AI fix that? I just want the button. Sorry, I have to wait the 3 seconds that it takes to manually do it. But no, I think that like that's the thing, right? You're just trying to get to your next whatever it is. And eventually you're not going to have to make the call. That's the crazy thing. You're just going to have to, it's going to proactively say, "Hey, do you want XYZ? Blah, blah, blah." It's going to give you a nudge. Like all that stuff is just going to be automatically done.
We're close. Like it popped up in my car. I pressed a button in my car to call the dealership. It's like, you need oil change. Press this button, get the agent. You don't have to be on hold. Here are 5 options. Which works best for you? Let me auto send this appointment to your calendar. Like it is so easy. And maybe next time it'll integrate with my calendar and just book it and I'll show up.
Or next time it's going to know, hey, your car is normally at your house from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. and we're just going to send a technician out there at 7 p.m. and they're going to do your oil change, and when you wake up, it's going to be done.
Yes, please. That sounds great. Lexus heroes.
But that's it, right? So there's this exercise which Brian Chesky did at Airbnb, which I love, which is called the 11-star guest experience. And I talk about this quite a bit, and it's so useful, which is start with like, what is 5 stars? What is the 5-star rating, right? It's like doing the bare minimum is 5 stars, right? Like everything works, right? 6 stars, everything works. Oh, and this, everything works in this. And like the 11-star experience is, for Lexus is that they come and do it to your house and you never have to think about it. You never have to think about getting your oil changed ever again. Right?
That would be 11 stars for sure.
let's get into our B2B marketing lessons from this. And I think the first one for me is quote that he says is exactly how every single B2B marketer should think. And the quote is, I'm not sure people understand this is possible. This feels like a story. Like anytime you come up against something like that, where you're like, I'm not sure people understand this or understand that this is possible, that means you should be creating content around it because that's your job, right? So it's like your job is to unearth those things. And what's cool with AI right now is there are so many things changing that the vast majority of people in any field, there's no way to keep up. There's no way. Nobody is caught up ever. There's no such thing anymore because every AI model is on their own. They're all shipping at different times. Different tools are shipping at different times. Companies are rebranding. Companies are refounding. Like it's so fast. There's no way to keep up. And that's like great news for someone in marketing because now you are the tastemaker of what is possible.
I could not agree more. I have not had more fun in my career than I've had in the past 6 months. Like it has been incredible to really step back and think about what is possible with all this new technology. And I think the pace of this change has really just accelerated in the past 6 to 12 months in a way that I've really never experienced. I don't think any of us have ever experienced. And I agree with you that it is impossible to keep up with everything. Like there are so many different LLMs. There are so many different evolutions of those LLMs. There are a million companies that are all focused on AI that have sprouted up everywhere. You cannot escape it. And I think it's a huge opportunity. I love the word tastemaker. I think that is I might steal that from you, but I think it's exactly what, staying ahead of the curve means right now, or not staying ahead of the curve, like clinging to the curve maybe.
Yeah.
But that's really what's motivating me right now is we have a chance to shape what this looks like for our function and rethink how we work as an organization and be just a lot more effective and a lot more efficient.
Yeah, I also definitely not I stole that from other people. So the tastemaker thing is sort of in the zeitgeist right now. But it is true, right? It's like, it's knowing what to curate, how to curate, knowing what to present, what not to present, the form and format of that, I think is really important.
Yeah, that word curation to me is so important because I think there's just so much out there that I find myself really turning to like individuals that I trust or sources that I trust to curate for me because I cannot keep up myself with everything. And so, yeah, how are you a curator? How do you add value for your customers, right? But then also, where do you go for that curated content to stay as current as you can?
So what I have right now is, I'm learning about product. I'm learning a bunch. I'm doing basically like my own version of a masterclass on product, on building products. And so what I'm doing is I have ChatGPT open on one screen. I have like YouTube open on one, and I have like podcast app open on the other. And what I'm doing is I'm using ChatGPT to clarify my thinking. Like I'm asking all of my questions into ChatGPT to answer like the types of questions. And then I'm listening to, I'm watching right now a bunch of YouTube videos that Y Combinator's put out from Michael Seibel and a bunch of stuff that they're doing. So I'm watching videos where they're talking about building product. And then I'm listening to Lenny's podcast where he has certain product people on that. And I'm sort of picking and choosing at the things that I want to dig into, which is tough. So again, that gets at what I'm doing right now is sort of super accelerated learning, right? Learning actual stories that resonate. So like the ChatGPT stuff does not rewire my brain, right? Like it's giving me like the next step on the thing, but the thing that like what reinforces the learning is learning actual experiences of people actually doing this stuff. And that's like what I remember, right? That you remember the stories, like your brain is hardwired for stories. And you remember the people. And then especially if you can see the video, you can see their faces. And so that also really helps too. Like I found, Or if you're, listening from, an audio perspective, where you're like seeing other things, you're on a walk, you're whatever, and you're really immersed in the content and you're like looking at other things. You can even remember like, oh, I was like at the gas station when I learned something. It's like kind of crazy that way. Right. And so by doing those three things together, or I'll watch masterclass is another one that I do. And so like combining those three things together, you can just basically learn like a really good amount of stuff in a short amount of time. And which is great. But I think it also speaks to, well, if that's the method of consumption, then you as a marketing team need to be filling those gaps, right? You need to like help your audience tell their stories in video formats, because some people learn that way, in audio formats, in written formats. And then you need to figure out like, what is a way that this can, feed into what ChatGPT is going to talk about, or whatever is going to talk about your thing.
Exactly. And I think that's the other challenge for us as marketers is you've got how am I transforming my own organization to take advantage of all these tools, but then also how am I responding to all of these tools? And what am I going to do about digital, where paid search volume goes away, SEO volume goes away, probably directory traffic goes away. Everything is shifting towards zero-click search, and people are consuming information in very different ways. So how do we respond to that? And I think we have a sort of an answer to that, but also I'm assuming that Google and Microsoft are going to have an answer for us as well, because I think they're going to want to continue to monetize search in some way. It will look very different than it does today.
Another B2B takeaway for me, a quote from him. Quote, "I wanted it to be weird." That is something never said by a marketing team. And it's why our stuff tends to be boring. It's like, if you start your project and say, I want this to be weird. And he literally was like, I need to do this myself because I want it to be weird. I don't want any notes from any of my bosses, right? That's literally what he says. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I wanted this to be weird. But it's like, that's what stands out. Like Squid Game stood out because it's weird, right? Shell Game stood out because it's weird. Also, they both have game in it. If you start your project out to say, I want this to be weird, I want this to be funny, I want this to be, whatever, like you can stand out. And like, this is just such a cool project because it's different and it's weird,
Yes, that's a fun takeaway. What a great takeaway. So much of B2B marketing is just boring. Like pictures of people doing their jobs, like no one cares. I love the idea of being weird. I usually say like, I want this to be really bold. I want this to be really like breakthrough and attention grabbing. When you said be weird, I immediately thought of Subservient Chicken from Crispin Porter, like the first iteration of the internet. Just like such a weird thing. And I remember it 25 years later, however many years later, because it was weird. And I think like tapping into that and being memorable makes for great marketing.
It really does. It really does. And you talk about it. I mean, the other takeaway to this is that, you as the audience, meaning Kelly, you said, I desperately wanted to talk about this with someone. Like, that's why this show is literally called Remarkable, is you actually remarked about this thing to someone else. Like, the goal of your content or your marketing is to make you desperately want to talk to someone about it. Yeah, it's like, that's the whole point, right? Like, the point is that you desperately want to talk to someone. And I'll use an example of another show. When I watched the first season of White Lotus, I remember afterwards, I was like, I really don't know how I feel about this. I feel weird, but I really need to talk to someone about it because it's just so weird. And again, bringing back the weird thing. And so we've talked about on the show, the idea of like optimizing for the share button, like how few things that you make in life, in your content, are like truly optimized for like hitting the share button. And like, that's the stuff that goes viral, right? It's the thing that on Instagram you see, and it's like 20,000 shares on this thing, right? And you're like, man, that's crazy, right? That means you clearly articulated something that person sees in themselves or someone else, you know?
Yes. Interesting too, to think about, well, what's the other weird stuff that gets you talking? And I think a lot of that I see on TikTok. I have an 11-year-old son, and I see a lot of that stuff on his feed when I'm sitting and I'm like, what is he watching? That is so weird. And so I think there's this idea of like unfettered creativity and just not being afraid that is awesome. And I think that's probably what holds us back in the B2B space is like, well, I'm afraid to do that. That's too weird. That's not going to send the message we want, or people are going to think that's strange. But I think reframing it and saying, well, actually, that's a good thing and it's going to get people talking is kind of what we should be striving for.
Kelly, I can't even tell you how many projects I've pitched. Like crazy project, because we pitch a lot of crazy projects at Caspian, and like how many crazy projects, and the people are like, well, you know, that's, I don't know, that's kind of out there. And I'm like, dude, like, we're all the people who talk about how like the Squatty Potty ads won quadrillion awards and everybody loved, or like, you know, everyone's like Liquid Death is the coolest brand ever, or like what I'm like, yet nobody wants to try to copy that at all. Like nobody wants to like even do one ad that's like that. You know what I mean? So, and as if that's like, you know, the thing that one ad is going to do it, right? One ad is going to break your company because you made a weird ad. You know, it's like the executive who you're talking about, who you're selling to, watched Ren and Stimpy when they were a kid. Like, it's okay to be weird.
It's okay to be weird. Let's put that on a mug.
Yeah, right. That's Austin's whole thing. Keep Austin weird. Yeah, another takeaway for me. So I've heard a lot of stuff about podcasts as someone who's made 150 different podcasts and thousands of episodes on it. I always hear, aren't there enough podcasts? You know, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, listen, that's like saying, are there too many books, right? Like, it's like saying, are there too many movies? Should we just shut it all down? Should we just say, Hollywood, you know what, we're done. We've made too many movies. Like, it's a ridiculous premise. But what's even more ridiculous is that there's things like this that exist that completely change a format that you think is a certain way, and it flips it on its head. So it's like the actual problem when you say, I think there are too many podcasts, or like, aren't there enough? It's just you're staring at a mirror and the mirror is saying, I'm not creative enough. And like, people just don't really want to be told that, but it's like, it's the truth. If you can't think of an idea for a video series or a podcast series or whatever that delights your audience, right? Like, you're the problem. And like, it's harsh. It's like harsh to say, but it's true. Like, and if you can't figure out that idea, somebody should. And like, what he built with this show is so unique and cool. And it's probably something only Evan could have done in the way that he did it. And like, it's because he's creative and he wanted to push the boundaries, and he started with curiosity, and like, that is accessible to anyone.
Yeah. And he wasn't afraid to do something hard. He wasn't afraid to make mistakes. He wasn't afraid to try and fail and learn something new. And I think like that open-mindedness as well is what helped this be so successful, because he really pushed the boundaries, and it was not clear that it was going to even work because no one had ever done it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so I think just being willing to finance it himself, take the risk, and just try and let us all see the failures too was really compelling.
Yeah, my final takeaway for this is making it personal. Like, this is just such a better story because it's his story. It's his family. It's like his voice. And in B2B, right now, currently, might not be forever this way, your brand matters way less than the people. It just is what it is. Like, there's like, your brand is your product. It's your customer service. It's your experience. It's your product experience. It's all those things. But your brand can't talk. It can't communicate with people. It can't have emotions. It can't feel things. And like, the people in your company do have those things. And like, those stories will resonate more. It's just like the article that says written by AI might solve exactly I want to learn about, Barbados. Written by AI is going to give you all the stuff. It could give you a list of the best places to visit in Barbados. It could give you the list of places to go to the beach in Barbados. It could give you all those things. But that's different than asking a local their lived in experience. And those two things live together. And so I just think it's important to like continue to try to find human-centered elements of this thing, right? It's like where's the human story in all of this? And like that's what he did a great job of, is like, talking, pretending that you're an AI to your family breaks a societal taboo.
Such a good example of show, don't tell. Like you and I can sit here and say like, yeah, there's humanity and human in us and like not an AI, but to just like show it where you have the AI talking to your dad or your kid or your therapist, it's like, no, like this doesn't work. And you can like, you feel it viscerally. And I think there's real value in that. Like as we navigate how we're all going to move forward with this, to really think about like, what is that line? What's the line for our brand? Like, where do we want to have humans in the experience? Where do we think that this brand can speak for itself? And I don't know. I don't think we've really fully gotten there yet.
Yeah. Okay, switching gears to MasterControl, super cool company. 80% faster post-production review times. Pretty incredible. Y'all have over 1,000 global customers. People have used MasterControl to bring 250,000 life-changing products to market. You're at the center of it. Tell us how you're thinking about how content and brand fit into your marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm. So it plays a huge role in our marketing strategy. I think our customers are navigating some really challenging environments. So when you're in life sciences and you are manufacturing medical devices or pharmaceutical or biotechnology products, there are a lot of guidelines that you have to follow because people's lives are at stake. So it's not like, if you manufacture a shoe and the sole falls off, like probably no one's going to die. But if you are getting a biologics that's personalized to one person who's receiving a specific prostate cancer therapy, which one of our customers does, like you've got to get that right. And you've got to get that right 100% of the time. And so most of our customers have really specific processes that they follow internally. And then that the government can, like, regardless of which market you're in, each government has a set of rules and regulations that you need to follow to ensure that the quality is there. And navigating through all of that information and keeping up with the regulations can be really challenging. In addition to continuing to figure out the best, most efficient way to manufacture can be really challenging, and training and keeping all of your employees on the same page. And so they turn to us from a content standpoint as a curator. So we talked a little bit about curation earlier. What we're able to do is survey the market for what's happening from a regulatory standpoint and bring that together to help them navigate themselves without having to go out and be proactive in searching for it. We can deliver it to them. We can also look across all of our customers and identify, here are the things that the most efficient customers are doing to bring more products to market sooner. And we can take that learning and distill it and share it with the rest of our customer base. And so we really look at content as a way of helping our customers to improve their own manufacturing processes, their own quality processes, to be more efficient and competitive in a really competitive space.
Is there anything that's working for your audience in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think the regulatory work that I was talking about has been really effective. A lot of governments now are coming up with AI regulations and AI in medicine. And, not to bring it back to that, but it seems all roads lead to AI right now. But we've done a couple of content pieces on that have been really well received.
Well, I just want to say that all roads lead to AI. Like, we have 60 shows in production right now across every different industry. That's every show, every single show. It's like, of course, it's all like, it's like when the internet got created, it's like, what else are you going to talk about? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, but I'm open to it. It just seems to be my default lately. Like, this is it.
It's like, we're not talking about blockchain right now. You know what I mean? It's like,
we're not. Yeah.
Maybe we should be. I don't know. What about, how do you think about like ROI or how it relates into content, which can be tricky?
Yeah, we're obsessed with ROI. I think I look at it in two ways. So one is CAC, which cost of acquiring customer, and we add together all of our sales and marketing expenses to calculate that. We're constantly thinking of new ways of bringing our CAC down. I also measure total cost per opportunity. So again, looking at all of our sales and marketing costs divided by our opportunity count. I'll also look at that number just for marketing. And then on an individual channel level, we have about 15 different channels that we leverage for lead generation. We've been using last touch attribution, so I can really understand kind of my cost per lead and my cost per channel. I think now we're able to fine tune our measurement a little bit. And so we've also started exploring multi-touch attribution to, I think, give a little bit more credit to some of the work that we do in the top of the funnel and give content more credit where credit is due, because I think it gets underrepresented when you take a last touch approach to ROI.
That's great. I love the pipeline and the CAC stuff as well.
I'm obsessed. That's the other thing I talk about a lot.
Makes everything easier. Right.
It sure does. Just to have a dashboard where you can go press a button and see all your metrics in one place and know exactly what's happening at any time.
Well, and I think it's just like the attribution piece of how different things shape all of it, right? Is so important. It's like, oh, hey, this person, check this out. They were a guest on our podcast and they came to our event and they, have talked to 3 people and they, it's just like all of it blended together. What's one thing that you're excited about coming up?
So I've been with MasterControl now for a little over a year, and I've gotten the chance to spend some time with our customers here in the US. I just got back from our customer summit that we do in EMEA in Berlin and got to meet some of our customers there. But I'll be doing a factory visit while I'm over in the UK this month. And that is always the favorite part of my job, to just kind of be in a factory looking at how products get made. And what I find most fascinating about our market is that factories don't necessarily look like factories. So when you're doing personalized medicine, it can be 300 steps to modify blood at a single station, or it can be a traditional manufacturing line where you're churning out hundreds of pills a minute. And I find a lot of joy in seeing how things get made and seeing how things work, and then kind of understanding how our product fits into that, but very much in a secondary way. I think it's really fascinating to just go learn about the things that we all use in our daily lives.
Amazing. Kelly, final question here. What's your best piece of advice for a CMO trying to figure out their content and brand strategy?
Expose yourself to as much as you can and be insatiable with what you're consuming in the world, whether it is the events that you are going to, or the content that you are reading, or the people that you are talking to. I think an idea can come from anywhere. And especially now, there's just so much information that I think we as CMOs need to be constantly learning and challenging ourselves in order to keep our position in the market. And then, think about what are those things that are really going to push us forward and push us ahead of the competition. And I just find that the more that I just engage outside of the vacuum of MasterControl, the better off we are as a company with our go-to-market strategy.
Amazing. Kelly, thank you so much for joining the show. Amazing topic. Shell Game was fantastic, and you were a fantastic guest. So thank you again. Everybody go check out MasterControl. If you're in manufacturing, go do it. MasterControl.com. Any final thoughts? Anything to plug?
Thanks, Ian. This was a lot of fun, and can't wait to listen to the episode.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks.
Well, that's it for today. I hope you got some good ideas for your B2B content. Thank you for listening to Remarkable. I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Caspian Studios. Remarkable is created by the team at Caspian Studios, B2B podcast as a service. Caspian also creates fiction series for B2B companies, so if you want a business thriller, you can learn more at caspianstudios.com. Hollywood-style storytelling for B2B. And in today's episode, you heard from myself, Ian Faison, and Meredith O'Neill, senior producer here at Caspian Studios. Remarkable was produced this week by Meredith O'Neill, mixed by Scott Goodrich, And our theme song is Solomon by Falak. Be remarkable and rise above the noise.